Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is the draft prospect show that we have where we take a look at some of the juniors and or seniors that are a part of the 2025 NFL draft class. We're looking at different players. We want to get a perspective of somebody that we think has a chance not only to get drafted, but to make a difference on an NFL roster. And how better to do it than to look at the history of what they've been able to do in the past. Along with Vincent Turner, I'm Harper LeBel. And Vincent, I want to say thank you for bringing up a couple of guys here that I didn't know anything about. I really wasn't, and I wasn't too sure about where we were going to go in terms of the direction. But Marcus Mbow, Ashton Genty, we talked about him a little bit, we know, but James Pierce out of the University of Tennessee, two of the three guys that we're mentioning right now, I enjoyed looking them up, finding out a little bit more about them, and seeing the athleticism. I'm very taken by this, but thank you for the assignment that you gave me.
Well, when you look overall and you look at all these people out here that's doing NFL draft sites and prospects, and the draft is going to start heating up as once the season is coming to a close. What I understand and what I look at is a lot of them are either former scouts that never played the game or people who I want to say want to create havoc on social media sites that they're experts. But see, as I said here on 100 Yards of Football, the greatest thing of me doing this is that I've done this over a few years, and I'm not a scout, never played the game. But what I have that a lot of people don't have is a gentleman that played 11 years in the league, that's been in different situations, that played in the league during the 80s and 90s when some of the greatest players had ever played. LT, Lott, Dickerson. And right now, I'm a kid in a cookie jar. And I'm excited today to talk about these three prospects. See, I got some respect on my name because I got Mr. Harper LeBel. Y'all remember that out there. 11 seasons in the league. Nobody didn't play 1 year or 2 years, or a guy who became famous in the basement of his parents' house over there in Baltimore, Maryland. His initials are MK. Now, I got the real deal. Back to you, Harper.
Well, I want to say thank you to Logan for being our producer and engineer. Logan Landers is taking care of this. Logan, let's look at our first of the prospects that we were going to talk about today. Marcus Mbow, the offensive tackle. Now, he's playing on the right tackle at Purdue. And when I first looked at this guy, I go, holy cow, this guy is an enormous individual. And I watched him block, and I watched what he was capable of doing. Some things jumped out. First of all, he's 6'5". He's about 305 pounds. Marcus is a very good player, but he wasn't a highly recruited guy when he first got to Purdue, a 3-star. So I think he's one of these guys that any offensive line coach would call gritty. He wants to learn. He needs he needs to improve to get to the 4 and the 5-star level. But now he's looking to be an NFL player. So it's not about just getting in. It's he knows he can fit, but where will he fit in the draft order right now, and what can he do to be able to help a NFL lineup, especially from the tackle position? I'm not sure if he'll ever be asked to play guard, but he's athletic enough to where he could do either or. It'll be very interesting to see how this turns out. But he is big, he is strong, he has fantastic feet, meaning he doesn't fall over a lot. He moves, which means he has a great motor. He has a lot of heart, which means that he's going to play hard for you. A lot of things that I see in this young man that make me, he's got some things he needs to work on, but there are some really good basics and fundamentals that he does at the highest level. What sticks out to you, Vincent?
Sticks out to me as a gentleman. Listen to what I'm finna say here right now. There's a lot of draft experts out there saying that he's the best tackle going into the 2025 NFL draft. But most of all, Purdue has only won one game. They 1-8 on the year. And then another tidbit in his history. He had one major scholarship that was from Arizona State. And you mentioned he was a 3-star. But the last minute, they dropped the scholarship. And then Purdue came on board. Got to Purdue, he played guard. He played right tackle, he played some left tackle. But think about the respect that they're saying about this young man on a 1-8 football team. He's the best tackle in the draft in the 2025. And in the school he went to, Purdue, great heritage. Matt Light, offensive tackle. Who did he protect for, about 7 years? Some people are saying the greatest player in the game, Tom Brady over in New England. Rod Woodson, Lenny Dawson, Drew Brees, Kevin Sumlin, Mike Armstead, Chris Dishman. That's a good list of players coming out of Purdue University. And I read some of them yesterday. They say he's in that class as a Purdue Boilermaker football player. And then when I look at his comparison, I'm telling you, Harper, he reminds me of a young Willie Roth out of Louisiana Tech by way of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. In a Leon Gray out of Olive Branch, Mississippi, that went to Jackson State and had an outstanding career with the New England Patriots playing beside John Hanna. And John Hanna said he's the best tackle he ever played with on any level. And then he got a little bit of the best tackle in the game right now, Mr. Trent Williams, out there in San Francisco from Longview, Texas. I love the young man. I love the player. And you know why I love the player? Because Purdue has only won one game. He's got NFL scouts coming to see him every weekend, at least 20 or 30.
Yep.
And he's still got to perform at a high level. Even his football team is still getting ball rushed. And he's still, people saying he's going to be the best left tackle going into the 2025 NFL draft. And his character is off the charts. Back to you, Mr. LeBel.
Yeah, there's some things that he does that are a little out of the ordinary. When he will set, and then if it's a play action play, or if he's got to get down the field, he will swat at a defensive player to kind of get their hands off of him to allow him to go down. But he hits him on the shoulder, and he'll knock guys just flat down on the ground. So he's got some great strength, although he doesn't look like at 305 that's going to be the weight that he's going to play at. He's going to get a little stronger. That's obviously every player that comes into the league, they're going to have to do that. But he already has the athleticism, the feet, and the want to, if you want to call it that, to where he can get it a lot more easily than some of the other players. I'm going to read this. He pairs a deep bag of tricks with incredible footwork in both phases. This is one of the reports that we have. This is from Draft Network. So let me get the author and give him credit. That would be, doesn't say here. I'm sorry. He doesn't have it titled, but unfortunately, I don't know exactly. But deep bag of tricks, primarily a vertical setter, and his snap off the ball and his ability to gain ground quickly shows his transition ability into the NFL. He doesn't have the size of a traditional pro tackle, so I think he will need to get into the weight room a little bit. But he compensates for that with his incredible movement skills and his consistent hand usage. Those are things that if you've already got it, you go into the league with an advantage because you don't have to be taught something that you already know. So those are some things that I liked about him. I think he's a very good football player. He's playing on a team, as you mentioned, Vincent, that isn't doing very well, but people are seeing through that, and that may affect him being a first rounder. I honestly believe that they would go with a Tennessee or a LSU or a Alabama or Georgia lineman first, because they've got more skill sets again and more film to show against other top 10, top 5 teams, especially if you make it to the playoffs. So that might be a drawback for him, but he definitely is a guy that people think in the future he could end up in the Pro Bowl for you.
What I'm going to say about the young man is that all I know is that a lot of people out here in the draft world, it's on a lot of sites saying this young man, when it's all said and done, when the 2025 NFL draft comes into place, he's going to be the first offensive tackle off the board. And the one thing that I like, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not no expert. I didn't play in the National Football League, didn't play college ball. I got cut after 1 year at Arkansas, walked on, wasn't good enough. But I watch a lot of college football, and when I watch Purdue play, and I saw him playing a couple of games this year, the one thing I love about him is that he finished blocks. Let me say that one more time. He finishes blocks. You might see him downfield blocking with a running back going 20 or 30 yards. To me, that means hustle. To me, that means work ethic. To me, that means greatness. You know what I'm talking about, Harper. Back to you.
Yeah, and I think he's having fun. I think he's enjoying it, even though the team isn't playing, at the level that he or anyone else would want them to. When you're having a good time, you go down, you finish, you play to what's called the echo of the whistle. You're not dirty, but you finish. So all the best to him, Marcus Mbo. He is a tackle. He's 6'5". He's 300 pounds. He was an All-American with the Big Ten. He was an honorable mention in 22 and 23. So a very good football player that we want to give a shout out to, at least for right now, on our draft prospect show. The next guy we're going to talk about is somebody that if you don't know anything about him, you sure will in the next couple of weeks. Ashton Jeanty, the running back out of Boise State. He is leading the nation in rushing, and there are a bunch of different categories that he will set records for. But he is 5'9", and he's 217 pounds, but he is a bowling ball. He bounces off of blockers and tacklers, and they call him a pinball machine in some cases because of the way that he keeps his balance and fights forward for additional yardage. Vincent, this is a guy that, is there any team in the league that can't use somebody who can run between the tackles and run outside as well? And he's also a pretty good receiver.
I get excited when I hear this young man's name. Like I said, there's been a lot of running backs over the course of the years that came through college football, and you tend to get excited, and you tend to say that player is going to be something special. And when I look at Mr. Jeanty, I always go back to some of the great young running backs in his college game that made me get off my bed, that made me want to get a soda, that made me have chills through my body. 7-year-old, when O.J. Simpson made that 64-yard run against UCLA, and how Chris Schenkel said, look at that boy go, how he had a crowd in Southern California, how they went crazy. Or when Marshall Faulk broke off them long runs at San Diego State on ESPN. And then, of course, what Barry Sanders was doing at Oklahoma State. Then Tony Dorsett breaking out on long runs. And then Johnny Rodgers with his punt return against Oklahoma. And Anthony Carter going in the end zone for Michigan. And Billy Sims without his cutting ability when he was Boomer Sooner in Oklahoma. And Eric Dickerson, who I saw up close and personal, gliding. Looked like he was gliding off the turf, Harper. How can you not get excited about Ashton Jeanty? Love the story. Played his first 2 years of high school football in Naples, Italy. Father was a Navy chief petty officer that they moved around a lot. And the family realized if we're going to get Ashton recognized through the high school football coach over there in Naples, I can't remember his name, but I want to give him respect. Y'all got to get him back on stateside. And they ended up at Lone Star High School that produced Nick Bolden, the outstanding running back with the Kansas City Chiefs, in Frisco, Texas, which is about, I say, 10 minutes from the Dallas Cowboys complex. How ironic is that? But when you talk about this young man, I just cannot say that he's the most complete running back I've seen in a long time on the college level. I'm sorry. I'm excited about the young man. And because he's playing at Boise State, not one of them big-time schools like a Tennessee or USC in Arkansas. And think about this. When Boise State ended their season, and I didn't know this, don't you know, Harper, he had 30 schools come to him with higher NIL money than Boise State? He had SC, he had Auburn, he even had Georgia reach out to him. He had every major school in the country. But he said, I'm going to stay loyal to Boise State. That's what I'm so excited about, the loyalty. It's not about the money. And I'm going to leave you with this. He's a guy that's got everything to be a big-time player on the next level. Hall of Fame ability, vision, cutting ability. And you just mentioned Harper. You played in the league 11 seasons. He can run between the tackles. And it's something here at 100 yards of football. Me and my colleague, Mr. Ronnie Keebler, always say it's facts. And it's competition. All I have to say, who's the number one team in the country right now? Oregon. Second game of the season. Oregon got all type of NFL players. Jordan Birch, Dan Lanning is coaching them up out there like no tomorrow. All I know is this. He put 192 yards on Oregon. He averaged 7.7 yards a carry. And he scored 3 touchdowns. And as I said on another video, in our college football Super 7, if Boise State makes it to the college football playoffs, I'm going to give it back to you, Harper, as I look in the screen. I don't want to see him because it's going to be a problem. Back to you, Harper.
Yeah, what are you going to put 9 guys in the box? How are you going to defend against him? And Boise is built to be able to do both things well. And I think it's neat that he is a player that can run the ball in between the tackles. He can get outside. He can turn it up the field. He can make big plays. He can score the touchdown for you. He's not going to fumble, but he can also catch the ball. If routes break down 10, 15, 20 yards downfield and the quarterback can't throw it, you just dump it off to him. You don't have to do it every down. He catches about 2 balls a game. I think he has 16 he has 16 receptions. So he is a dump off guy. Here's the thing about him that people love. He's 5'9", 217, real thick. The picture here doesn't, I mean, they call him a bowling ball, right? He's a real tough guy, and you bounce off him as opposed to the other way around. One of the critiques about him is that he doesn't have an initial burst like a track guy, that he's a little bit slower than most. He needs to add quickness. Okay, well, do you lose weight to do that? Or is he going to have to gain weight to get a little bit bigger and thicker at the NFL level and cancel some of that speed out? That'll be an interesting play in how coaches and administrators try to find the perfect fit for him in anybody's lineup. One of the weaknesses that he has is that he's not a very good pass protector. You can work on that. I believe that he will. And he tends to duck his head a little bit early and not make contact with his head and with his hands as much as he does with the shoulder. He feels more comfortable doing that. So if that's the only thing, I'm still fine with a guy that, here are his numbers right now. Let me put my glasses on because I don't want to miss any of this. 224 carries right now, 1,734 yards on the ground. Vincent said that he's averaging 7.7 yards per carry. Think about that. You give it to him on a first down. You can do anything you want on second and third. And even if you have to on fourth down, you're still going to get the first down because he's going to get it for you. He has 23 touchdowns right now, and his longest one is a 77-yarder. 16 receptions, 93 yards in the air. He averages 5.8 yards every time he touches the ball when he receives it from the quarterback. That's a first down for you. He can do that. So I'm very impressed with what he does and how he has changed, and the loyalty that you mentioned are some things that are obviously big difference makers. That won't be a key once he gets into second, third, and fourth year in the league. But for right now, those are things that make a difference for me.
My final words about Mr. Ashton Gente. You've been hearing a lot of talk about the Heisman Trophy. Travis Hunter is at the top of the list. And granted, in all respect, he's having an outstanding year out there at Colorado playing for Coach Prime. But I want to say this to you, Mr. Hunter. You better pump the brakes a little bit. Hold the horses. Because when I look at you, you make plays on the outside as a receiver. You make plays as a DB, and that's good. You got to defend. But this young man right here, he getting the ball. So I'm going to tell all the Colorado people out there, you better take notice what's going down there in Boise, Idaho, in the nation. This young man, if I had to say I had a Heisman vote today, he will be my Heisman Trophy winner. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to lie. But he will be at the top of my list. Not Travis Hunter, not Shedeur Sanders, not Jalen Merrill, none of y'all. I'm going with Ashton Gente because what he's doing, he's carrying that Boise State football team. And I'm going to bring up another point that you need to let this register in your head. When off season, when the transport portal was open, every major school came after him. And he turned them all down. Loyalty, respect. Back to you, Mr. LeBel.
Yeah, and look where Boise is right now. A place they haven't ever been before, and even though they played in that wonderful Fiesta Bowl with Coach Peterson a few years ago, this is a different charted territory for them. Getting into the playoff the first year, man, that would be amazing. And I think the rest of America, who hasn't probably seen him as much, they've heard about him, but getting a chance to watch him in a big time game, awesome. I look forward to visiting more about him and his great feats that he has in college football. A tremendous player. The third gentleman we're going to look at, James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee, is an edge rusher. He's 6'5", 240 pounds. And the first picture that I saw, he wears number 27, as you can see right there. I'm saying this guy looks like a safety. He's a quarterback, isn't he? No, he's a bring it edge rusher. So I'm going to say that he's got a fantastic first step, like a Vic Beasley, only he's a much bigger body than Vic. He may not weigh as much, but at 6'5", he's got a little. He's going to have to go to the training table a little bit. We're going to get him about 260. When we do that, if he's got the same edge, he will be a Pro Bowler. Absolutely amazing guy. He's athletic. He's quick. He has 5.5 sacks already here now with Tennessee. He has one pass deflected and a forced fumble that he has, but a tremendous athlete. Vincent, give us your thoughts here. I know Tennessee's team number 2 for you, but your impressions on what this Vol has done for his team.
Well, there's a lot of people that make a lot of money in the National Football League that gets after the passer. They gave him a name of the edge rusher. This gentleman right here has one of the quickest first steps that you ever seen on any level. When I think about him playing for the great school of Tennessee, and I don't want to offend nobody up there in Knoxville, the lovely 865 playing in Neyland Stadium. You've been inside the stadium, Harper, so you know it's huge as any stadium in the country. You got to think about what he's following out of great pass rushers that's made it to the National Football League out of the University of Tennessee. Brian Ingram out of Memphis, Sean Ellis out of South Carolina, Chuck Smith out of the Athens area, Chris Mims out there where you from, LA, Casey Rogers, Todd Kelly, Mike Terry. And then you think about all the great people that could rush the pass on the college level before they got to the National Football League. Hugh Green from Natchez, Mississippi, Andre Tippett out of the University of Iowa, and of course the young man out of, I want to say, Williamsburg, Virginia, by way of North Carolina. They know him by the initials LT, Lawrence Taylor. All of them could get after the passer. But when you look at Mr. Pierce, he's got that same type of ability. As you just mentioned, you brought up a very critical point, Harper. How is he going to be able to put on weight and still maintain his quickness? That's the only concern I have about him. But right now, he could get after the passer than anybody in the country better. And when you look at it, he puts tons of pressure on the quarterback. So to you, the University of Georgia on Saturday night, I hope that what happened to Ole Miss, you don't let it happen to Tennessee and let Mr. Pierce get off and hit Carson Beck a lot on Saturday night. Back to you, Harper.
Yeah, one of the things that he has that just God's gift is speed, and it really forces an offensive lineman to have to do something that they don't normally do. When you're going to you got to set back further, and you got to get there quicker to be able to defend against him going around the edge. And sometimes when you do that, you get off your balance, and I think it's very easy. When you remember Reggie White with that little hook that he had, he'd have a 90-degree angle with his humerus bone in his forearm. He just used that with power. One of the things that James needs to work on is a second move or even a third move. He's not a great bull rusher. A little more weight in the seat of his pants will help with that. A little more strength. That'll come in time. And I'm talking about an NFL prospect, with somebody who's going to play in the league. He'll be able to get that. You can't coach speed. It's either you have it or you don't, and he does. Quickness and speed are two different things. You can be the first one to win the race, but the guy with quickness is the guy that gets out in front of everybody else faster than anybody. And just understand that he has both of those things. So good for him. And he needs to develop a second move. He needs to get a little bit heavier. I think those are the biggest problems I think that anybody sees with him, but the sky's the limit because of his size, because of his speed, and his want to. Again, 5.5 sacks. He had 13 last year. So he's a very good football player that will help an NFL team. And before that happens, so he's going to try to help Tennessee get into the playoff. Vincent, we've looked at 3 different players, Marcus Mbow, Ashton Jeanty, and James Pierce out of the University of Tennessee. The other 2, Boise State and Purdue, respectively. Thank you again for bringing that up. Your thoughts, there's plenty more that we're going to be looking at, but of these 3, I think you think Ashton is the guy that has the most potential, doesn't he?
Absolutely. But Mr. Mbow, I like his story at the University of Purdue. On a 1-8 football team, to be recognized at that level, some people saying being the best left tackle coming into the 2025 NFL draft, I love that. That tells me it's not about so much wins and losses on the field. It's about you continuously still doing your job and being mature enough to accept the situation. And of course, Mr. Jeanty, it's no question about it. I'm very excited for him. I think the character of him staying with the Boise State program really sticks out to me. When he could have went like so many players are doing right now for the money and really could have played for a program right now that's in the college football playoff mix. And then, of course, Mr. Pierce. What more? I got to give the orange blood. I'm going to be a Tennessee guy to the day I die. I've had a nephew that graduated from the school. I've had a sister that attended. I've had 4 guys out of my neighborhood that have played there personally. What more can you not say about the University of Tennessee? And one thing people don't understand about the University of Tennessee is only 6 million people in the state of Tennessee. So Tennessee has to develop a big recruiting base abroad across the country. And see, Mr. Pierce is out of North Carolina. So that's saying a lot right there. But at the end of the day, today has been one of the most enjoyable days for me talking about these prospects because we've had 3 high-level quality guys today here on 100 Yards of Football. And I will say this, special thanks to our producer, Mr. Logan Landers, for doing an outstanding job. And I'm going to say, as I give credit, people get mad. Mr. Harper LeBel, you was flawless, elite, superstar status. Back to you.
Well, we want to thank everybody for tuning in today. On behalf of Logan, thank you for getting those pictures up and making sure that everybody has a chance to not only view, but listen to what we're trying to do here today. So thank you, Logan. And for Vincent, I appreciate that. The assignment was always an interesting one with you because you bring up some people. I go, wait a second, who's this guy? But thank you for doing that. As I mentioned earlier, I knew Ashton Jeanty, but I didn't get to know him until I got to study him. And if you as a fan out there have anybody that you think that we ought to talk to, by all means, let us know how we can be in touch with connecting our research with the player that you have. We look forward to hearing from you. So for 100 Yards of Football, this is the Draft Prospect Show. I'm Harper LeBel for Vincent Turner and for Logan Landers. We want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a fantastic rest of your day.